I have some great HOA Karen stories for you today, and our last story is a special one. I'm getting on the camera to tell you about a special entitled Karen story that happened to me today. It's ridiculous. I cost my old HOA thousands. From 2016 to 2023, I owned a townhome in an HOA. I had the upstairs unit and a downstairs neighbor from heck. All the units were 2-bed and 2-bath with an attached garage. Since I was upstairs, my master bedroom was over my downstairs neighbor's garage, and my second bedroom was over my garage. In 2021, I wanted to tear out the worn carpet in the bedrooms and replace it with wood floors to match the kitchen and living room, which came with wood floors when I bought the place brand new. I reviewed the CC&Rs, which stated that any floor renovations over livable areas must seek out HOA approval. I thought, well, great, the bedrooms are over garages which aren't livable areas, so I don't need approval. I just had the floors changed. My downstairs neighbor was a heavy complainer. He'd complain to the HOA about everything. For example, I received 3 complaints in 2 months for running my dishwasher at night. Apparently, he could hear the water in the pipes and felt that I was not allowed to do so. He complained about me coming home at 2 a.m., saying that my garage door woke him up. Stupid things like that. After a dozen complaints, I got called up in front of the board to do that whole song and dance. I let it slip that I changed flooring on accident, which got them all wrapped up. I had my lawyer respond to them stating that my bedrooms are over unlivable spaces and thus don't meet the requirement for approval in the CC&Rs, and I even sent them the floor plan. The problem went away. Early 2023, I decided to sell the place. The buyer received the HOA report, which didn't mention flooring issues. The place was sold, and all was well until about 6 months later. I received certified mail from the new owner's attorney stating that I failed to mention my unauthorized flooring, and since the downstairs neighbor was constantly complaining about noise, I was being asked to pay for new flooring to meet HOA rules or risk being sued. I had my attorney respond, and both parties, myself and the new homeowner, agreed to meet to discuss this. We both had our attorneys present, and my attorney went over the fact that any pre-existing HOA issues would have been documented in the buyer's report provided by the HOA. The floors were not documented. The homeowner's attorney agreed, and the homeowner was upset, but agreed, and that was the last I heard of it until about 5 weeks ago. I ran into the homeowner while out running errands. So I asked him, hey, what came of the flooring? He stated that his attorney turned on the HOA, who lost the court battle and was forced to pay for the new flooring. He ended up getting about $10,000 of work done on the HOA's dime. The best part is, when the downstairs neighbor heard this, he sent his attorney after the HOA, claiming their negligence caused him emotional distress since they allowed a renovation to happen that impacted his sleep and ability to work from home. The HOA lost that court battle as well and had to pay him almost $80,000 in damages. Apparently, the HOA is now in debt and being forced to raise dues almost 200% to meet the requirements that the county requires of them. Gotta love it when HOAs get crapped on. I mean, that's almost $100,000 for negligence. If they would have just done the jobs that they're supposed to, followed the rules, you know the rules and so do I, as Rick Astley said, they wouldn't be $100,000 in debt almost and raising dues by 200%. What have you done? My neighbor is an evil witch. I'm at my wit's end. Our horrible psychopathic neighbor is damaging our property, trespassing, and harassing us. Let me give you some context. My husband and I have a lovely home in a great suburban neighborhood. We've lived here for close to 20 years now, and we love our home. About 5 years ago, this older single woman moved in. She's made our lives a living terror ever since then. There are so many incidents that I can't even begin to list them. It started when she put letters in our mailbox saying that our cars were blocking her driveway and threatening to have them towed. Our cars were parked at least 6 feet from her driveway, and she never leaves the house anyway. We ignored her, but kept all the letters. The houses were built in the late 70s with downspouts that flow down a squall between the fences. We started getting more letters claiming that we were flooding her yard, and she will call her lawyer. Again, we ignored her, but kept the letters. Through the years, the letters have continued and have gotten much more nasty. She's called us stupid, neglectful, derelicts, and idiots. She's stolen rocks and lawn ornaments, yelled and threatened our dogs, threw a brick at our dogs, written nasty letters pretending to be the neighbors behind us, tampered with our gutters and downspouts, and so much more. Finally, we got a camera last year and have since caught her on our yard many times. Most recently, we have footage of her using a sharp implement to jam something up on our gutters. When my husband investigated, he found that she had stuffed several feet of fabric and plastic in our gutters and downspouts. She's also been pouring some sort of liquid from buckets along the foundation of our house. Last month, we had a massive flood in our basement that cost us a fortune. She caused it. We have done nothing to this woman and can only assume that she is severely mentally ill. We don't feel safe in our own home. The liquid she poured could be corrosive, poisonous, or even flammable. She has done the same type of thing to other neighbors, but she seems to hate us the most. Last week, we went to the courthouse to take out a peace order on her. We had a hearing last Friday, but she had not been served yet. If she's not served or avoids being served, the case will get dismissed. We also filed criminal charges for trespassing, harassment, and destruction of property. We have all the letters that she has put in our mailbox and taped to our front door. There are roughly 30 of them. We have pictures and video too. We now have to replace all of our downspouts and gutters. I'm most nervous that she'll harm our dogs in some way. We just want her to leave us alone. We really don't know what to do because I can no longer live next to her knowing that she's trying to hurt us and our property. We love our house and our neighborhood and really don't want to move. I've seen suggestions for motion-activated sprinklers, so if she gets in the yard, she's going to get a little rain wet. Oh, what about those cameras? Let's go ahead and use those too. What would have you done? Manipulative tenant reporting false narrative. My mom moved into my building 9 months ago. This is a 250-unit building in New York City. Market rate with some Section 8 housing mixed in. All kinds of people live here, and each floor has around 25 or 30 units. My mom has 2 small dogs, yappy breeds, Chihuahua and Shih Tzu. Whenever she goes out for an extended period of time, they will bark when they hear someone walk by the door. If someone is home or their anxiety level is normal, there's no barking. So, if someone's out running an errand or at the doctor, they're not sitting here losing it. I should also mention that when my mom first moved in, there was a week where they were barking uncontrollably when alone while they adjusted. But we were on it, immediately took them to the vet for medication, and that never happened again. I got a call from the super today that the dogs are barking uncontrollably. I'd only left for 30 minutes. I live right downstairs and have been watching the dogs for 2 days while my mom is away on business. I work from home, so I'm here almost 24/7 unless I'm having a meal with my husband downstairs or running an errand. I thought that was strange. I go back upstairs and the neighbor is on the phone in the hallway saying that the dogs are barking all day and all night. She had just walked by to go to work, so they likely barked. But the floor was silent. That ticked me off. I told her that it is not all day and all night, that she is lying. I encouraged her to talk to me if she has a problem. She would not look at me, just turned bright red and kept repeating herself to the super that the dogs won't stop. I told her again she is lying, and if she has a problem, we can talk. This woman has never said a word to my mom in person. The doorman told her that someone reports her all the time, and now I finally know who it is. Outside of talking to this woman, what else can I do? I obviously do not trust her and find her to be manipulative. Hearing her on the phone has lit a fire inside of me. The last time the super called me that the dogs were barking was when my mom first moved in. This is only the second time that he calls me directly about it. I believe if the dogs were actually barking nonstop, my mom would have been officially reported to the leasing company. No one would put up with that. I mean, yeah, you don't want your dogs barking, of course, but if somebody's going to use that as ammo, and when it's not actually happening the way they say it is, lying, to take you down, well, that's suspicious. What would have you done? Karen property takedown time. Recalling this story made my heart smile. A few years ago, I was building a new fence for a friend of mine. I had to remove the old sections that were falling apart first, of course, And when I got to the intersection of his back fence, his side fence, and the next door neighbor's back fence, I carefully separated the neighbor's fence from his and proceeded to carry on removing the side sections that went between their two properties. My friend had told me that the side section was 100% on his property and that the previous owner, 30 plus years ago, had deliberately given the next door neighbor's property an extra foot or so to ensure that he was building on his own property without calling for and paying for a survey. The neighbor, Susan, who I will refer to as Karen for the remainder of this story, came running outside screaming at me that I couldn't remove the side fence and that it was their property, and just what do I think I'm doing? I responded back very calmly that my friend had told them well in advance that he was going to replace the fence, that he was just going to build it in the same place as the old one, and asked if they were willing to split the cost, to which they declined. No biggie. Karen started screaming at me again, telling me that I had no right to do that, and that my friend did not give them proper notice, and that she did not realize that there wouldn't be anything between the two properties to contain their dog. By now, I'm about ready to lose my crap, so I knocked on my friend's back door to let him know what was going on, and that he needed to talk to Karen, and that I was leaving because I didn't want to do or say anything that I would regret, or cause problems with the neighbors for my friend. The entire project got put on hold pending a property survey that was going to cost $650, and that they demanded that my friend pay half of, despite telling them that the fence was definitely on his property and nothing was going to change with the new fence, and that he was fine with them continuing to have a foot or so of his property so that he didn't have to rock the boat. Fast forward to the following Monday when the surveyor comes out. Turns out the old side fence was not a little on my friend's property, but almost 10 feet onto his property, and the neighbors had built up raised flower beds and done a nice brick retaining wall right up along the fence line that they had spent a lot of money just in materials for, never mind the time they put in constructing it. Needless to say, my friend came away with the biggest crap-eating grin. For the mere price of $325, he was entitled to expand his yard of more than 30 years by about 800 square feet. And Karen and her husband, who happened to be the polar opposite of his wife in personality and was super nice, spent the next week moving their garden, retaining wall, and all of the dirt that was on my friend's property so that I could build the fence on his side of the actual property line. And then they hired the cheapest contractors they could find to slap up a fence on their side of the property line, and they spent almost as much as my friend did on their new fence. I gave my friend the friends and family discount. 3 years later, the last 20 feet or so of their fence is on the ground already because it was such a crappy job that it fell over in a moderate windstorm this past spring. My friend's fence is still standing, rock solid, and his dogs are definitely making good use of the 800 extra square feet. Isn't this just a great tell of I know something you don't know, you're going to be rude, I'm going to take you down. What would have you done? This is a true entitled Karen story that happened to me today. So myself and my wife, a bunch of the family, we're taking the kids out to Chick-fil-A because we really like it, and it's a handful of us, so we got a decent sized party. We go in, the restaurant is packed, and there's really nowhere to sit for a party our size. Well, we see some single tables around, and we see a booth in the back. We look in the back, and the single tables are open, but there's a booth that 2 older ladies are sitting at, and they're not eating. They're not doing anything. So we go over and talk to them and make some chit-chat, ask if we can trade around a little bit, since there's some empty tables for 2 people, but for a party of 9 people, well, just not enough there. So we go over there. My wife goes with our daughter. They say, oh, how cute she is, and so on and so forth. Then the boys get over there that we brought, and, well, the lady gets a business call. She's like, oh, she's scooting over in her chair. She's like, oh, I can't hear, blah, blah. We asked them to change the seats very kindly since, we all want to sit together since we came together. We're bringing the kids, and there's only 2 of them, and they can fit in another table, right? They're not even eating either. When they get there, we ask them kindly. They are entitled and say, oh, we do our business over here. Wait a second. Now, you're going to be nice to the girls, not the boys when they get over there. That's strange enough already. And then you're not eating, but you say, oh, we do our business over here. I'm all good if you want to have fun with your friends going out to a restaurant, But when someone goes in to eat, especially a family outing, it's only proper. What you're supposed to do is to move over and let them have that seat and not be entitled to it. Now, actually, we thought they were going to go complain to the manager, but they ended up just leaving after that. Do you think that you should get up and let the family sit down to eat with their lunch together? Or are you entitled to your own seat even if you're not eating at the restaurant and there are other seats that you could sit at there? Let me know what you would do there. HOA fines me $2,000 every day if I don't stay home. Click the video on your screen so you find out what happens to this crazy HOA, and I'll see you there.